invite you, if you're comfortable and able, that we can invoke this spirit of Aleph, which is openness and oneness. That is not just the cosmic oneness, but the really oneness with our own being, not cutting ourselves off from ourselves. We can do it with a physical pose for Aleph. So even if you're seated, you can do this. And the pose is to lift your hands. Can't see myself, but I'm just opening my hands like this, and being the shape of an Aleph. And you're welcome to hold this pose for as long as it's comfortable for you, because I'm going to put my hands down so I can play the harmonium. But you're welcome to be in this Aleph pose as we come to an affirmation for opening ourselves to feeling. And we can chant like this. I am feeling. I am open. I am openness. Let's do one more time, letting the sounds of the chant and the affirmation vibrate in your body. I am feeling. I am open. I am openness. And you can stay in that pose or relax your hands however you like. Chant for Aleph, for the oneness, from the Yigdal hymn. Echad ve'en yachid keyichudo ne'elam ve'gam ein sof le'achduto. Echad ve'en yachid keyichudo ne'elam ve'gam ein sof le'achduto. Remembering to rest awareness in the vibrations in your body as we chant. Echad ve'en yachid keyichudo ne'elam ve'gam ein sof le'achduto. Echad ve'en yachid keyichudo ne'elam ve'gam ein sof le'achduto. And preparing to come into silent meditation with what I call the three portals. The first one, the portal of the heart, taking the attitude of giving of your attention from your heart, offering your attention with love, bringing your right hand to your heart, and affirming this attitude of offering attentiveness from your heart with Lecha, deep breath in, Lecha. Left hand to your belly, drawing awareness down into your body. Energy of gratitude and healing permeating your organs, flowing down through your legs to your feet and toes, and upward into your chest, shoulders and neck, arms and hands and fingers, taking a nice, deep, conscious breath. Feeling that sensation of the breath, drawing awareness more deeply into your body. feeling awareness in your face, facial muscles, brain and nervous system, bringing a little smile to your lips, being that benevolent, loving, indwelling presence in the temple of the body, affirming with Na'aseh, deep breath in, Na'aseh. Bringing your right hand to lightly touch your forehead as awareness in the body opens up into the space around you, sensing the objects, the light, the feel of the room, the support beneath you, and recognizing, bringing to mind that our perception of the world around us and our perception of the inner world of thoughts and feelings are all being felt within the field of awareness. This field has no boundary, no border, within but beyond the body. And you are this boundlessness. You are this openness, affirming with Vinishma, deep breath in, Vinishma. Kissing your fingers, relaxing your hands. Ribono Shel Olam, help us to meditate deeply and effectively. Help us not simply to quiet the mind, but to be the quiet, to be the open space within which thoughts come and go, not bothering too much with any of that, just anchoring the mind in the tefillah, the affirmation of you in all forms, the affirmation of you manifesting in this awareness we are. Atyahu, Atyahu. Atyahu, Atyahu. Atyahu, simply resting the mind in Atyahu. As we come into silence, I encourage everyone to really receive the gift of these 10 minutes. We'll be in silence. Good ways you can do that are to really let your hands be unencumbered, letting go of devices if you happen to be holding the devices, or pencils or anything like that. Let your hands be unencumbered. Let your eyes be relaxed or closed, being that open space of awareness in silence for 10 minutes. back together. You can give your body a stretch. And closing the meditation, once again bringing right hand to your heart, establishing yourself in the attitude of offering your presence from the heart with lecha. Deep breath in, lecha. And bringing left hand to your belly, feeling awareness flowing down into your body, filling up from your toes, up through your legs, your belly, your organs, your chest, your lungs, shoulders and neck, arms and hands and fingers, face, facial muscles, brain and nervous system, consciously inhabiting the temple of the body. Na'aseh. Na'aseh. Right hand to lightly touch forehead, opening up to the world around you, knowing that inner and outer world are one as they arise in the one field of awareness that you are, boundless, borderless, and vast. V'nishma, deep breath in. V'nishma. Kissing your fingers, relaxing your hands. As we prepare to go on with our day's activities, may we remain rooted in the power of Aleph, of openness. May we practice knowing this deepest level of ourselves. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael, v'yakol yoshvei tevel, v'imru
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Rabbi and Yosef. So appreciate it. We seal the practice as we do each day by offering an opportunity for the expression of grief and for holding that grief in community. So if you are in mourning, observing a yard site, or if it's your custom to join in the Mourner's Kaddish, you're invited to do so. Thanks to Jet for sharing the words of the Kaddish on the screen. If you're not reciting Kaddish, we encourage you to stay present for those who are, and consciously extend your support, love, compassion to those who are in mourning. And you can put the name or names of those you're remembering, honoring today in the chat if you would like, now or after we recite Kaddish. And invite those who are to join me by rising in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Yamad Divra, Yamlich Malchut, Vayikol
Vitar,
Vitar,
Vitlav,
Vitlase, Vitadar,
Bru,
Vitale,
Bru,
Vitla,
Mikol,
Shimata,
V'chata, V'shirata,
Vishmata, Vishmata, Shirata,
Mama,
Mechanan,
Mama
Balma,
Rabbanim Shemaya,
Hey, Shalom, Rabbanim, Shalom, Kalenu, Kol Israel Binu, Amen. Say Shalom, Rafi, say Shalom Aleinu, Benu Israel, Kol
Imbru,
Shveitel, Nu,
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Friends, thanks for joining us as always today. If you're leaving us now, hope you'll join us tomorrow. I'll lead us in practice tomorrow to sit into Shabbat, Parshat Noach, story of the flood. And we hope you can join us then at our usual time. Thanks to Jet Bachman for holding our space, as always, beautifully. Thanks to our teacher for today, Rabbi Yosef Schachter-Brooks of the Torah of Awakening. And I'm going to put in the chat a link to Reb Brian's organization, Torah of Awakening, and the wonderful offerings that are available through the Torah of Awakening. Of course, as always, you're invited just to stay with us and continue to sit together if you'd like. Turn off the volume on your computer or device and use this time and space for your own practice, or join us for a conversation or sharing reflections on your experience today. So I'm going to invite you in. Here you go, Brian. Okay. Good to see you. Good to be with you. And thanks for this practice. Let's start with the Aleph. That was a beautiful practice. We started with, you invited us to embody the Aleph. And I just, some people may not be aware of what Aleph really represents, especially in Jewish mystical tradition. So I think that's a good starting point. I'll say this, that for the first thing, I think I felt or recognized more than I ever have this sense of Aleph representing openness. And what struck me about it actually was the sense of openness puts us in a position of vulnerability. And at a time when we're feeling so vulnerable, on the one hand, it feels freeing and restorative to go into that openness. And on the other hand, I experienced some tension because I think the natural inclination when one is feeling vulnerable, is to basically to close up, right? To constrict and like ball up, curl up into a ball in a protective stance. So we'll circle back to that. But first of all, just, why the Aleph today? Why did you choose Aleph? And maybe say a few words about what Aleph represents in our tradition.
Yeah. Well, I love to use the Hebrew letters as windows into meditation. And the way I see them is that they all can be used that way, but they all focus in on some particular quality of presence.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this wonderful teaching about Aleph that I got from a book on the Aleph Bet by Rabbi Yitzchak Ginsburg, where he talks about the form of the Aleph, the shape of it, being composed of a long letter Vav with a Yud on top and a Yud on the bottom. And the Yud on top represents waters of joy, meaning water is a metaphor for emotion, so it's feelings of goodness, and the lower Yud representing the waters of bitterness. And he refers to this famous story in the Talmud where these four rabbis go into some kind of mystical journey. They enter Pardes, and three of them have not so great things that happen to them. Only Rabbi Akiva is able to enter that state and enter in peace and come out in peace. And he gives them a warning before they go in. He says, "Don't say water, water when you come to the chamber of marble," or something like that. And it's an enigmatic statement. Why would people say water, water? And so what's explained in this Ginsburg book is that water represents experience, particularly emotions or feelings, and the quality and feeling and the flavor of the feelings. And both the message is that emotional pain, what are called the bitter waters, as well as joy, are all water. They're all part of, well, the way I would say it, he doesn't say this explicitly, but the way I would say is they're all different modulations of consciousness. And if you try to separate them, if you say water, water, and you say, I only want the joyful ones, but I'm going to push away the negative ones, then you're actually hurting yourself. You have to open up to the full spectrum of life, not because we want bitterness, but because we don't want to be divided inside. And so to me, although he doesn't go quite that far with the teaching in the book, explaining it in terms of consciousness and what we're doing to ourselves and our nervous system, it's a very practical teaching to me, and a great starting place for meditation before we get to all the other letters and what they mean.
Yeah, thank you for that. Let's put a point on that or underline it. That's such a great teaching for the moment, I think, of honoring, not pushing, not saying I only want, and that's not what meditation is. It's not meant to just bliss out and find the water that we want and avoid the bitter water. So let's move from that. So which is sort of what came up, and I see maybe somebody else or some others maybe had that experience of. So I had the experience of, oh, I'm expansive. Oh, this is a little hard to be expansive right now. There's I'm under duress. I'm feeling under duress, feeling vulnerable for whatever number of reasons. So I noticed the discomfort. I noticed that, and then it led to some degree of openness, of feeling some release, and then you led us into the practice using that line from Yigdal, which is, as you said, it's a hymn. It's a liturgical hymn that's used particularly on holidays. So maybe say a little bit more about that, about working. I think right now, working with the bitter waters, I think, is a big part of our practice right now. Yeah. How are you doing that? How are you working with your, or how would you suggest we work with when we notice the waters being bitter?
Well, it's a tricky thing to talk about, I think, because it's so easily misunderstood. I feel I think that it's really important to understand that part of why it's okay to totally feel the bitterness is because we are much more than the bitterness. Mm-hmm. And the fear that we have that we don't want to feel it, we want to constrict from it, and so on. I see how some great chats coming up here about this too. Mm-hmm. It's that there's a natural fear that we'll be overcome by it, that we'll lose ourselves in it, that we'll be overcome by bitterness, and that's not false. I mean, people do become overcome by bitterness. People lose taste for life. The difference is that with meditation and the incredible benefit that most people don't know about, even people who meditate, it's easy to forget it, is that you'll get through it. I mean, this is the one place where I think faith is really essential, because it's natural for the mind to develop a story that, we're going to get taken over by this bitterness, and then to start for that thought process itself to be self-fulfilling. Mm-hmm. But the more that we can relax the thinking mind and open ourselves fully to the feelings, then this other thing happens too. It's not just about feeling the bitterness. It's about also getting a deeper sense of what we are that's feeling the bitterness. And what that is bigger than the bitterness, no matter how much no matter how bad it gets. As long as we're here as living beings on this earth, our consciousness is bigger than the bitterness, and we can't be taken over or destroyed by it. We can actually open to it, and it's scary and it's painful, but ultimately the 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 bliss of being, the joy of being, that inner spaciousness is there for us. And
Yeah.
so the meditation is about fully opening. It's not about particularly about the bitterness, it's about opening to whatever is. And
Hmm.
sometimes what is the bitterness. As we get, I couldn't believe, just amazing that we were reading Kohelet when the war started. And the main message of Kohelet is all kinds of stuff happens. There's a time for this and a time for that. And this is what life is. But this is not all of what life is. There's also a wholeness to our being, as the whole book concludes
Hmm.
in its own words. But the way I would say it is that there's a wholeness and there's a goodness to being. And that can't be taken away from us. But to know it, not just intellectually, but to really feel it,
Hmm.
we have to open to life as it really is, with all of its horrors. And so it's a starting place.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. All right, so let's keep moving then. So then we went into the practice, and I want to invite you to kind of unpack those stages that you lead us through of starting with the heart of the offering, and then the belly of absorbing or awareness, bringing awareness into the body, and then the forehead of expanded awareness, expanded consciousness, right, of this unfathomable oneness that we're part of. Can you explain that flow? If you
Yeah.
could, like it's like a yogic flow, how we could, what that is, and how we might, as we're hit by the waves as we go about our day. Like at the end, of course, you said we want to bring this like off the cushion, off the seat, out of this time into the rest of our day. How could we bring that process in?
Well, it's kind of like doing exercises to strengthen our ability to relate to everything as we go through our day.
Hmm.
Um, the in a way, I feel like the first one is the most important, because when we approach a meditation practice, we of course have the idea that we're going to get some benefit from it. We should be getting benefit, and that's good, but it can sabotage the practice, because we're not the practice is not to be thinking about what benefit, but just to be aware and conscious of whatever is present. So that's why
It seems like it's even more than that, the way you were putting it, though. It's almost like it's sounds like it's a dedication. I'm dedicating this as
yeah.
an offering. Yes, would you say?
Yeah, that's a more specific way of putting it, but we could definitely think of it that way for sure, in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that um, there's a certain quality of in our life interactions, when we are in a relationship with someone or some situation in which we are just present and offering of ourselves, what to do, what's needed, or to even just to listen and to be here
Mm-hmm.
for what's needed, from a place of love, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to having some agenda, or trying to get somewhere, or trying to get
Mm-hmm.
through it or whatever, but just being here out of love.
Mm-hmm.
um, that to me is extremely core for having a successful meditation, is establishing yourself in that.
Mm-hmm.
Even just being here on your seat in an empty room, just having that attitude is really important.
And then
So
step two
yeah,
is
and then
the body.
step two is a little more technical, like bringing awareness into connection with the senses allows the thinking mind to relax. And it's a much better way of doing it than trying to not think. Instead of trying to not think, trying to do something positive, which is to feel the breathing, feel your body in the seat, and so on. And so that's step two, and it's more of an instruction of how to prolong and sustain a meditative state. And then the third one is a little bit more of a foretaste. It's a little more esoteric, but it's a reminder of the fruit of meditation, which is experiencing ourselves as something more vast and boundless than being a person in a body looking out at the world. That's the ordinary
Mm-hmm.
way that we see things.
Mm-hmm.
But if we examine our experience, we can see right away that's not true, or more than that, because we know that everything we perceive around us and everything we feel within, we know that it's all within awareness. So if we start to ask ourselves, well, what is this awareness? What shape does it have? What quality does it have? We can be brought to, we can start to focus on something that's very hard to focus on, which is just that it's an empty, open space. The nothingness, in a sense, the Ein Sof. It's not just a concept to take from Kabbalah. It's something that we can find in our experience. So just spending a little time going through those three stages, the purpose of that is to give us a head start, in a sense, to really help us to have a more successful meditation through those three stages.
Well, that's great. So thank you for walking us back through those, and we can see how hopefully we can bring those to bear as we go about our day and run into people and deal with news and information, and can be so easily to get thrown off. So as always, so grateful to you for leading us today, and
Thank
of
you
course
so much for having me.
the music, of course, adds a really important dimension as well. So I want to thank everyone for being here. Jet, thanks for holding us together this time. And we hope to see everyone tomorrow to sit into Shabbat together at our usual time, and continue to pray that everyone stays safe and well, and pray for Shalom. Be well, everyone. Many blessings.